Hello, good evening and welcome to this new edition of RTD's English News. The top stories are: at the National Assembly, a 10% repealed solidarity tax on retirement pension has been approved. Germany to send 650 troops to Mali.
Those were the top stories. Thank you for joining us. The first public meeting of the second regular session of the National Assembly's 7 legislatures of 2015-2016 has been held today in the chamber of the National Assembly. The Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, President of the National Assembly Mohammed Ali Hamad, the members of the government, as well as the elect representative of the people have taken part in this first public meeting. The 7 bills have been on today's agenda, have been approved. The particularly of this day has been the introductions to the chamber of the National Assembly. The young member Said Hussein Roble, who is the substitute of the late Ismail Gedi Hared. He will now sit next to this colleague in the National Assembly, Said Hussein Roble, age of 25, the youngest that the National Assembly has now in continuing medicine training. He is in its 6th year of medicine education and he will soon be leaving to Tunisia in order to continue the studies. The President of the Assembly of all the members have wished all the welcome to the young member.
Let's not forget that the 7 bills have been on the agenda where the President of this Assembly has opened the meeting. Then the parliamentarians in the government have debated on these bills. Let's take a look.
The first question asked by the elected was the amending budget and the fact that the latter experienced a delay at the level of its execution. The Minister of Budget has answered this question by indicating that the amending budget is there to correct and make the adaptation measures taking into account the changes that have taken place in the course of these last 8 months. There may be new resources, expenditures and charges. This must be corrected, said the minister, because this is the purpose of the amending budget and this budget is not yet executed in whole. And then the minister has been asked a further question concerning the traffic lights. The minister said that the installation of the traffic lights has introduced a discipline in our circulation. Everyone has noticed that the majority of the population respects the red lights. We see from time to time some people not respecting this, but note that they are only a minority. But when they are fined, the police hold a book that they issue. Otherwise, if you hear time to time that some drivers pay directly to the police, and if these people are doing this by ignorance, I think, the minister said, it was our duty to educate our fellow citizens. Member Deputy Aden Abdu has took the floor for a question regarding the pensioners. For retirement, there is a law which says that if a retirement remains abroad more than 3 years without returning to the country, loses the entire pension relating as only years, which to me seems unfair, he asked. The Minister of Labor has responded to this question by saying that the extent of laws of retirement is good. But it is also obvious that you cut off the pension of retired because there is now the question of the fraud. There are many people who touch the retirement of the parent of their brother or sister who had died several years ago. Therefore, someone who is living must be present if the person does not appear. That means for us that this person is dead, he said. As for the second question of Aden Abdu concerned if the state is fulfilling the social contribution of its employees which is gained a record delay prejudicial to this noble institution, he asked. The Minister of Labor said that the luck has won for the CNSS. This gained luck was also rebuked by Mr. Ali Aduita. Thus, the LAC has earned for the CNSS for the removal of taxes from the solidarity of 10% amounts to 190 million francs Djibouti. This LAC is a sacrifice for the CNSS, but this sacrifice has been supplanted by the made to demonstrate solidarity with our seniors toward the retirement and who demanded these measures since a long time.
The Prime Minister has expressed in his turn by putting the action on the basic infrastructure. He said, "I would like to say here that the infrastructure are basis of the development of a country, so don't be very worried," he said. In addition to that, the port of Tadjoura will be able to refund all these ready to that have a contract, and this is the international port of Djibouti, which has case and not the authorities of the port, so the decision will be up to the international port, he has explained, the Prime Minister. To conclude his speech, the Prime Minister recalled that everything which infrastructure that is either road or port are all the basis for the development of a country.
Other subject of the national news, the National Union for the Djiboutian Women, UNFD, in collaboration with UNICEF, has conducted today a ceremony of delivering informatics in office kits to the community management of the committees based in Djibouti and the Merjok. This meeting is organized in the framework of the community program for the promotion and protection of human rights known as SALAM, executed by the UNFD with the technical and financial support of UNICEF, implemented in 27 sites in the capital as well as in the 5 interior regions. This program, initiated in 2008 under the leadership of the Ministry for the Advancement of Women, had been conducted until 2013 by an international NGO called Tosten. Since 2014, the responsibility for the execution of this program has been entrusted to the UNFD. At the ceremony, several concerning personalities took part, including the Acting General Secretary of UNFD, Mrs. Fatuma Musa, the Acting Representative of UNICEF, Mr. Monsef Mwala, the Presidents of Bol'as in Balbala, Said Ayane Yusuf Nuhu, the coordinator of UNFD project, Mrs. Ruqya Ali, and the responsible of UNICEF protection program, Mrs. Fathiya Umar. These materials amount in a total value of more than 4 million Djibouti francs, which will be provided to about 20 committees of community management. For this occasion, the UNFD project coordinator, Mrs. Ruqya, has indicated that it is with great pleasure that the UNFD takes part in the ceremony of handing over equipment intended to the strengthening the achievement of management committees' missions in the framework of the community program for the promotion and protection of human rights.
In the framework of strengthening the capacity of MEMFOB staff, the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training has organized this week 2 training sessions of reinforcing the management of the staff jobs and skills and on the financial management of the MEMFOB. This training will be beneficial for all the technicians and senior executives of the MEMFOB in charge of planning and financial management of the education system. It was animated by Mr. George Andre, international expert of human research, and Christian Hausiam, expert in financial management. These courses are part of a series of training for senior executives of the MEMFOB and financed by the AGCEF project. Their aim is to assist to executive of MEMFOB in the opportunity of a very important tools of the the management called simulation model of educational system. Designed for the MEMFOB, this tool allows all the express of investment and operation of the MEMFOB in order to better determine the financing needs, contribute to the proper financing of a Djiboutian education system, and thus enhance the quality and yield of educational service. The participants of this training have expressed their expectation and have warmly thanked the Minister of National Education, who gave them this opportunity and who is always working to enhance the skills and performance of the staff of MEMFOB.
The Association for the Protection of the Environment and the Promotion of Sport and the Culture in the Neighborhood 6, in close collaboration with the Hygienic Service, has conducted this morning an operation of sanitation. This action undertaken by the association was held in the presence of the member of the association, the young people of the neighborhood, as well as the community leaders. This operation of sanitation has been organized in order to respond to the problem of proliferation of flies and mosquitoes recently found in the various neighborhoods of the capital. It is in this context that the association has proceeded to the distribution of products provided by the health service so that the households can use them in their latrines to fight against any kind of proliferation of flies and mosquitoes. It will generally help in avoiding the diseases related to this kind of problem.
A ceremony of distributing irrigation and agricultural equipment for the benefit of the pastoral corporation members of Sagaluwea took place in this locality. This contribution was organized by the NGO Peace and Milk in the partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture and the ASEF, as well as this has been financed by the European Union. This distribution has been put in place a training session on a market gathering technique to the farmers of owners and agricultural. The select in each cooperative of Sagaluwea. This ceremony comes in the framework of implementing the activities of a project's second phase in order to strengthen the managerial capacity and productivity of the agro-pastoral cooperative.
In Tujora now, the Annex Committee of Tujora has made a donation of dates to the Region's Hospital on Sunday, November 23. The distribution of this donation was held in the presence of the Deputy Prefect and the Chairman of the Regional Council, Mr. Hassan Hussein. The Chief Doctor did not miss to thank the President of the Annex, Mr. Ali Muhammad, and for this noble gesture which will provide nutritional support to the patients. The President of Annex has clarified that his committee will make more of these types of actions.
We have learned the sudden death of the late Hussein Mahmoud, the prefect by interim of the region of Dikhil, Mr. Yusuf Ali, addressed its deepest condolence to the deceased family who died this afternoon in Djibouti. The deceased was a great trader in the region of Dikhil, but also a member of a Sojik society. May Allah grant him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
And now on the continental level, German Minister of Defense Ursula von der Leyen said today that Berlin will contribute up to 650 soldiers to the French-led operation against extremism in Mali. Let's listen with more details.
Germany will send up to 650 soldiers to Mali, Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen said Wednesday, to provide some relief to France in its goal to fight against the Islamic State jihadists. Von der Leyen made the announcement an hour before German Angela Merkel traveled to Paris to meet President François Hollande to discuss support in the wake of the deadly November 13 attacks by the Islamic State group in the French capital. We will and must stand firmly by France's side and do everything we can to help in this situation, von der Leyen said after a parliamentary defense committee meeting. We will make a substantial contribution to this mandate. That is why we will soon put a mandate for 50 troops before the German parliament. She said the German soldier will focus on logistic and reconnaissance as part of the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. Berlin had previously deployed around 10 soldiers as part of the UN mission, and von der Leyen had in October already discussed increasing the number of troops. The French are very pleased that we are boosting our engagement in here, she said. Von der Leyen added that if the international mission managed to create more stability in Mali, the French will no longer be so tightly bound to this part in the world.
Let's move on to the international level. In Canada, Syrian refugees were welcomed to Calgary on Monday by tearful family members they hadn't seen in years, and a throng of smiling strangers who brought signs, warm winter clothing, teddy bears, toys, and candy to the airport. Let's watch these images.
And gifts greeted the first Syrian refugees to arrive in the Canadian city of Calgary on Monday. Mayor Nahid Nenshi said the 16 arrivals represent the first 400 families who will be arriving in the city over the next few months. About 60 Calgarians, both friends and strangers, were waiting at the airport to welcome the new arrival, holding gifts of snacks, flowers, warm clothes, and welcoming signs. Among the arriving refugees were Antoine Youssef, his wife's sister, his 80-year-old mom, and his 3-year-old twin daughters, who couldn't stop smiling as they walked through the arrival gate. The family had fled Syria and lived in Lebanon for a year before arriving in Canada. I'm so proud for my daughters to be raised here in Canada, in this great country. You have democracy, freedom, friendly people, everything, said Youssef through his cousin Ensho, who acted as a translator.
In Asia, particularly in Beijing, the world's largest animal cloning facility will be built in the Taijin Economic Technological Development Area, located in the northeast of China. For more details in this report.
The project, which could clone dogs, cow, and horse, will include a laboratory, a cloning center, and a gene bank, and a science and education exhibition center, planned to attract investment worth 200 million yuan. The TIDA Management Committee said, according to the publication, a district management committee recently signed an agreement with the Yinke Boya Gene Technology, a subsidiary of Stem Cell and biological medicine company Boya Life Group, the country's biotech leader. The project realization terms remain unclear, but the development of livestock breeding technology by means of cloning is said to be one of the main purposes of the project, according to local media. Yinke Boya Gene Technology has experience in cloning dogs in a joint venture with Korea Som Biotech Research Foundation, according to China Daily. This venture is an animal cloning pioneer with 550 dogs for special airport security and custom tasks, projected to be cloned by the end of 2015.
And now about the natural disaster. The Colima volcano in Mexico has spectacularly erupted into the blue sky above, reaching height and around 2,000 meters, one of the country's most active continue, spewing large columns of air and gas into the sky. Let's see with more details.
Mexico fire volcano is continuing its rampant activity, spitting out ash and instilling fear in both local and visitors to breathtaking effect. A moderate explosion recorded Tuesday showed the crater of one of the most deadly volcanoes in the world slowly steaming away when it suddenly erupts, sending debris into the air. The heated material then falls on the slope as ashes of volcanic lightning are seen before the ashes is whipped out by the wind. After the blast, which happened early Tuesday, the plume from the eruption spread ruggedly 1 kilometer into the air. Further eruptions saw the plume reaching ruggedly 2.5 kilometers into the air. The volcano continued to remain restless after being home to a powerful eruption on November 16. On this date, the plume of smokes and ashes from fire volcano reached some 3,000 meters into the air.
That is it for tonight's news. Thank you for your attention and have a great evening.